What you see right here, ladies and gents, is the reveal of a brand new Monsterverse Titan. That's right, today on Goji Center we'll delve further into the characteristics of this new kaiju revealed in Netflix's Skull Island, studying its weapons, body attributes, intelligence, and even some of its dark characteristics that make it one of the most unique titans in the Monsterverse. If you love to learn about monsters, dinosaurs, and more, then don't just sit there, man. Hit that subscribe button, like this video, and get ready to meet the new Monsterverse kaiju, the Kraken. This episode will be divided into 3 parts. The first, discussing this animal's physical appearance and weapons. Second, discussing where this animal came from. And lastly, we will talk about the Kraken's dark personality. Right now, we'll start with number 1, Corporal Attributes. The Kraken, yes, that's what it's now officially called, is a monster of gigantic proportions that dwarfed Kong at the time in terms of mass. But how big is it? To find out, we must first note that this show is officially stated to take place in 1993. That's 2 years before the events of Skull Island: Birth of Kong, where this fella was approximately 200 feet or so in height. So, around this time, Kong was probably 180 to 190 feet in height, meaning that this monster, if compared to Kong, could have been reaching heights of more than 300 feet standing straight in this particular posture. Lengthwise, however, this animal would have been much more massive thanks to its tentacles and tail, measuring anywhere between 600 to 700 feet in length. Measuring this animal's length is a bit difficult due to some of the attributes we are about to discuss. There are around 4 segments to this animal to focus on. We see here that this animal seems to be a mishmash of several different creatures. A cephalopod-like titan with crustacean attributes seen in these massive pincers similar to those of a crab. These have sharp tips capable of piercing, stabbing, and are strong enough to get a hold of other kaiju such as Kong. We continue on to its 3 distinct sets of tentacles, each with unique abilities. The first set of tentacles seems to be the longest, even more so since it seems like these have elastic properties, allowing this animal to stretch its tentacles to extremely long distances, much further than the length of its overall body. This does not end here. These tips, as seen in this clip, have the ability to follow smaller organisms even if the squid's eyes are not locked in on the target. This leads us to believe that these particular tentacles are equipped with sensors which seek and follow sources of heat or detect movement that takes the form of stress, heartbeats, or vibrations or sound. We're still not done yet. These are also venomous and can inflict electric shocks. The energy emitted will most likely depend on the target, since we saw that this fellow was struck by these tentacles, but not struck by the amount of energy that was inflicted on Kong. If this guy was hit by this much energy, this dude would have been burned to a crisp. Therefore, it's safe to assume that this Kraken would actively regulate the amounts of energy released to each target, since there was really no real reason to shock this dude with as much energy as Kong. The next 2 set of tentacles are similar in that they provide brute strength, extra appendages, except this set here is a bit longer, providing both reach and brute strength, while this medium set serves as auxiliary tentacles for close range. These tentacles are also bioluminescent, emitting patterns of light in the form of small dots, elaborate patterns on its tentacles which serve to communicate messages to other creatures, similar to the G-Man with his intimidation display. Moving down to its lower part of the build of this titan, we see that this animal has an elongated body similar to that of a large fish, except the orientation of the tail is horizontal, similar to that of a whale. This tail provides massive amounts of locomotion power to the Kraken, allowing it to move and propel itself more efficiently through the deep waters. Moving up, we find that this animal has an elongated head equipped with a sharp-toothed beak. This beak can bite hard, piercing through layers of fur, fat, and muscle. Teeth and serrated edges along the beak allow this to not only slice, but also grip prey. In addition to that, this animal has 4 eyes which glow in the dark, allowing not 2, but a total of 4 overlapping fields of vision over a vast area, which is helpful in the open sea given that threats can come from almost any direction. Gills line the side of this animal's head, suggesting that this animal can breathe underwater as well as on the surface. Yeah, this thing stays on the surface of the water for prolonged periods of time, meaning that this animal could also breathe. A similar anatomical adaptation is seen in the G-Man himself, capable of breathing on both land and sea. The result is a formidable sea titan that can challenge an alpha kaiju. But there is more to this animal than just tentacles, claws, and beaks. It is now time to figure out where this titan came from. In episode 7, we were introduced to a village of people who were shipwrecked on Skull Island. These people, along with this girl, were coexisting with Kong, who they saw as the king of this place. After a bloody encounter with these chameleon-like lizards, Kong went to wash his wounds at sea. Little did he know that he unwillingly woke up a monster that was dormant outside the shores of Skull Island, the Kraken. Now, where was this monster during the events of 1973, a whole 20 years earlier? In this show, the Kraken was pretty intolerant of any vessels or aircraft that would fly into Skull Island past its watery territory. So why didn't it bring these helicopters down 20 years earlier? It's possible that during these events there actually was a Kraken sleeping outside Skull Island this whole time, but it took something special to wake it up: the blood of another kaiju. But this doesn't explain where this animal originally came from. In the show, it was already theorized that Skull Island was in fact a biome that erupted from the depths of the Hollow Earth. Everything from vegetation to organisms, possibly including the Kraken. We've seen other creatures come up from the Hollow Earth as well, such as skull crawlers, the murder fish mentioned in Godzilla Dominion, Kamazots, etc. So, this animal was probably one of many that rose to the surface during any period of time before 1973. It was when it awoke when it started causing trouble, bringing us to part 3, the dark side of this kaiju. Real quick, this is another reminder to subscribe to Goji Shorts. If you are not, you're seriously missing out on these cool 3D animations showcasing kaiju and dinos. We've even got Bloop in here, dude. Okay, back to the video. If you saw the show, chances are that you will have already determined that this monster is of malevolent nature. Monsterverse Titans are usually labeled in 2 groups: malevolent or mostly benevolent. An animal that will go ahead and murder an entire village, pick on individual humans, go out of its way and spend tons of energy harassing small creatures that aren't worth the caloric intake, and blatantly disrespect another big kaiju is a big indicator that this Kraken was indeed malevolent. And yes, this thing was the animal that wiped out these people who peacefully coexisted with Kong and the one who killed his friend. Because Kong is an alpha kaiju, this Kraken had reason to lure Kong into fighting in shallow water, a battleground that was compatible with both kaiju, both the Kraken and Kong. And if this thing was ever going to become the ruling force in this island, the Kraken had to take out Kong. The Kraken has been seen to display taunting behavior. What you see here is this Titan's attempt at provoking Kong to come out and fight. Kong refused, knowing that the water was not a favorable place to go out and fight this monster. But perhaps another or the best example of how ruthless this thing was is this. Yeah, it takes a special type of psychotic monster to grab innocent creatures and hurl them in extremely long distances exactly where Kong currently lives. It's possible that over time, this animal would have picked random creatures of the island, killing them one by one in an attempt to get Kong to sally out and fight away from the safety of dry land. Apart from being a complete asshole, this Kraken also likes to fight dirty, ambushing Kong without prior notice, throwing him into deep water, and pinning him down to drown. Admittedly, this animal has all the tools necessary to have an almost unfair advantage. Fortunately for Kong, Skull Island is filled to the brim with wreckage, allowing him to once again use this to fight off the Kraken. This animal finally met his end at the hands of Kong. But even so, the real scars inflicted on Kong were not flesh wounds, but the loss of loved ones. As we can see, Kraken did not just fight at a physical level, but an emotional level as well, making this animal one of the most fleshed out and complete villains seen so far in the Monsterverse. Will there be another Titan that will outdo this animal in terms of evil nature? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode.